Anyway, what else? What other bit of irrelevance have we to utter? See, much seems to depend upon the spirit of the utterance, doesn't it? We could utter rubbish upon a soma flow, and it might take on meaning. Is that right, Pearlie? Or we might come out with words of great profundity, and if there ain't the soma flow, no one hears it. Is that right? Do you think that's right, Richard? What do you think? Or am I just talking out the top of my head?
I think what you're trying to say is, are we receptive to what's all around us?
Partly, you see, it comes down to the fundamentals of perception, doesn't it? Take one of these pictures. If we all looked at one of those pictures, would we be seeing the same thing? No? Why not?
I don't know.
No, that's the best thing. It's always good not to know. Beware of those who know. Oh my goodness, yes. Oh my goodness, yes. So, we start from the happy state of don't know. You see, if we all look at that picture, each and every individual is physiologically unique. To make it even more complicated, each and every individual is psychologically unique. We have eyes, we have brains, we have a nervous system which conveys the signals received from the objects that we're looking at. The signals are caused, of course, by the action of light upon the object. So light shines upon an object. We pick it up with our eyes and or other senses. And goodness graciously, do we see the same thing? Same with music. Some people listen to music and they become ecstatic. I've seen it, jumping up and down, goodness knows what. You've seen that too, haven't you? Yeah. Someone else may listen to the same music and think, oh my God, what a bloody awful noise. Same thing applies to the ear roll as it does to the eyesight. It goes through the translation process of the brain having received the signal from a uniquely different set of wires, which are our nervous system. Yeah? So do we all see the same thing when we look? Do we? What is the right vision? What is the right object? How do we see something closer to the real thing? Yoga has a curious teaching, yoga, Buddhism, etc., etc. It refers to the suchness of an object, or the suchness any entity. And apparently, some would say, it's possible to short-circuit, seemingly, all the infinitude of differences from individual to individual and cognize something of the suchness, the essence, if you like. When it comes to human beings, that essence is sometimes termed Atman. So when an avatar walks up to someone he presumably has never met before, who has all the orientation, seemingly, of ordinariness, and says, "Follow me," according to the text, and he arose and followed him. Now, who is addressing what? It's a very interesting question. The suchness of the avatar is identical with the suchness of the disciple. There is a rapport which instantly asserts some compulsive signal. It's a most strange thing, isn't it? Most of the interaction between human beings, most of it, occurs on the level we say is unconscious, which is a silly term because the unconscious is not unconscious. But it's all there. It's all happening. The extent to which we cognize, in a fuller sense, seems to be the extent to which we are awake. Awake, and the unconscious is progressively less and less unconscious. So increasingly it may be we strange creatures called Homo sapiens have the potentiality to experience life in a totally different way. Totally different. If we ever get glimpses of that total difference, then our advantages are also disadvantages. Because in everything, there is an innate balance inherent in nature, and every action, every thought even, casts a shadow, which is a retarding factor. We are constantly, through experience, generating our own retarding factors, which has to be set against the other fact, even more true, that the seed of light exists in every individual, in every situation. So the life process of constant change and transformation will occur And even the things which are most regrettable, of which we most strongly disapprove, all of them contain within themselves the seed of difference and ultimately the seed of revelation. So in one sense, if we have an equilibrium of perception, the life process is ever constantly self-revealing. There are many mysteries in all this. One of the mysteries, if we're talking about pictures, is the mystery of art. Most strange. Depends on what we call art, of course. I was recently talking to some folks who regretted that they hadn't seen the Turkish exhibition in London. I went to see it and, oh yes, it's interesting. Interesting, of course. But not in a way that some exhibitions can be. It didn't endow one with a sense of greater life. This is one of the mysteries of pictures, of art. Recently went to the much overcrowded exhibition of Turner, Whistler and Monet. Three geniuses. Now, in between all the passing people and the peeps you are able to obtain now and then, there was something rather more. I felt the Turkish thing to be a collection of interesting artifacts, more or less. Definitely interesting. Yeah. But if you've been to Turkey and if you've seen some of the marvels there, it's not anything like a fulsome experience. But I remember many, many years ago, we're talking about art now, aren't we? Many, many years ago. I think I was on leave from the army. There was a much publicised exhibition at the V&A of Indian sculpture. I'd never seen any Indian sculpture. 18, maybe 90 at that time. And I looked around, these weird figures, some of them have got 8 arms. Most strange. Rationally, it didn't make much sense. But a human being is much more than the rational faculty. Indeed, the rational faculty can be vastly overrated. as a means of perception and guidance. And I looked at these things, and something went pow. The unconscious was responding, bang, 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 bang. And as a consequence of the relationship between the seer and the seen, the seer was somewhat different. Some degree of change had occurred in the seer. Earlier in life, one had some sort of experience from discovering music. Now, what happens? What is this creativity that seems to generate life? What is it? I remember first time we went to Greece. Went to Delphi. 1963, they hadn't stuck barricades up everywhere. Didn't have to pay to go in, you just wandered onto the site. When did you go to Delphi?
It must have been 70s.
Did they still have an open site?
Absolutely open.
Right.
Yes.
Right. There was life there. Life. Not easily definable life forms, but life. Only later did I read about the great python. But I remember once looking at the hillside. There was this great undulating flow of Shakti down the hill. Gosh. Later on, actually months later, I read about the python. The mind is the most extraordinary thing. But most especially, there was a statue, one of a pair, the other one lost, called the charioteer. Now the charioteer has a very special meaning in ancient mythology. Krishna performed the action of charioteer when he took the reins at Kurukshetra. In Krishna's very troubled early life, he found himself in the care of a Kshatriya who was a charioteer. The Buddha's initiation processes were led by his charioteer, who led him forth to encounter the realities of the outside world. It's a strange business, isn't it? This charioteer. And the chariot. What is the chariot? But coming back to Delphi, there was the charioteer. I couldn't quite believe it when I looked at it. I'd known since childhood that you could look at people and see evidence that they were alive building up around them. Energy building up around people. Actually, as a child, I used to think everyone saw that. But I then came across people who denied it. Remember as a kid sitting in the classroom staring at teacher and watching sort of what one might call vibrations around teacher. On one occasion, teacher said, "What are you staring at?" Didn't quite know how to answer it. But anyway, looked at this charioteer, and it was alive. Never seen the like before. It was alive. Many years later, I remember Trevor Leggett speaking of a certain sacred statue as being what he called empowered. And he knew it was empowered because his guru had told him so. To what extent he actually realized the empowerment, I don't know. But there's a strange mystery about human beings vis-a-vis art. The art forms, the great art forms. There's a tremendous meaning in Bach. Some sort of sense of cosmic movement inherent in Bach. But this recent exhibition that I went to, Turner, Whistler and Monet, all three of whom I can rejoice in, I came away feeling that there was a particular extra level of vibrance in the money. Now, some years after the Indian art, the Indian sculpture thing, I went to a Zen exhibition. And all I can say is, wow, boom, it bangs you. There's a vibrance in emerging from the art. Most extraordinary. This surely is the deeper significance of great art. It affects a change in human beings. The other day I came across a passage in Aurobindo. Which was very confirmatory of all that. So what am I coming to? Where am I going to? What's it all about? I do not agree, as the previous government minister of art stated, that the lyrics of Bob Dylan are equal to those of Keats. I do not agree. But he'd got something. And in this instance, I think maybe we could even quote Bob Dylan. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. It's with the flow of life. The extent to which we cognize, the extent to which we express, the extent to which we're able to receive, there is wisdom all around, all around. Meanings revealing themselves in everything.